Hey everyone, welcome back to Wix Fix. I hope you're having a fantastic day. My name is Ryan, and in today's video, I'm going to show you how to build the perfect footer inside of Wix Studio. Now, a couple things I want to mention before we get started is I'm actually bringing back the channel memberships and Patreon for the channel. And we're going to be doing things a little bit differently. So if you join the designer tier on either the YouTube channel memberships or even Patreon, I'm going to have an exclusive video that shows you guys how to build the tablet and mobile version of the footer, which is kind of like a second half of today's video. Additionally, if you join the pro tier, I'm actually going to be turning this footer into a template that you guys can download and either check out or use on your own website or even a client website. And if you don't want to join the membership plan, but maybe you still want the section or you still want to support the channel, then I will also be selling this on my website. So I will have all the links down there in the description that you can check out. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right in. So for today's video, we're going to be building a footer for a template that I'm kind of creating right now. I've kind of built the layout of this e-commerce store, but I haven't like fully filled in all the content. And down here at the very bottom, we're going to have our footer. So the first thing I want to do is just give us some room to work with. So I'm going to set the height to maybe like 600 pixels. And then I'm going to throw in a container that's going to contain all of our content. So I'm going to go ahead and stretch it just like that. Now with this, I typically let this one be kind of like our background color. So maybe for this one, we're going to come over to design and maybe set this one as the brown color. That way it kind of matches our header design up here. Okay. And then for this one, I want to go ahead and add a container inside. Okay. And for this container, what we're going to do is we're going to apply a CSS grid and we're going to apply a 1x3 grid. So we want 3 rows here. And then I'm going to add a vertical gap here of like 24 pixels. So now in between each one of our rows, we're just gonna have 24 pixels. And then I'm gonna stretch this container and add maybe 5% margin to all sides. But I'm gonna head down to the bottom margin and I'm gonna make this one 24 pixels. Perfect. And the last thing we're going to do to this container is come up to the design and we're going to remove the background color. The first thing I'm going to do is just add a very simple line here in the middle row. And for this line, we're going to change it to our white color. We'll make it 1 pixel and we're going to change the color opacity to like 20%. And then under position, I'm going to align to center and I'm going to stretch it. The last thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to grab the container, I'm going to grab the row and I'm going to set this one to minimum content, just like that. So now we should have just a simple line that goes across. And what this is going to do is it's going to act as a divider or separator between the top of our footer and the bottom. For now, let's go ahead and start working on the bottom of our footer because this one is going to be a lot simpler. So what I'm going to do is just in the bottom of our footer, we're going to add another container. Let's stretch this one. We're going to come over here to layout and apply a CSS grid. And for this one, we want 2 columns. So we're going to choose 2 by 1. And just like with the container that we have above its parent container, we're going to add a 24 pixel gap in between the left and right column. Great. And just like before, we're going to come over to design and remove the background color by setting the opacity to 0. Great. Now here is where I typically place in, your copyright notice and maybe a little menu that links to your privacy policy or policy pages, right? So over here on the left-hand side, what I'm going to do is just add a very simple paragraph. Okay. I'm also going to set the color of the text to like our white color. And for this text, let's go ahead and just set it as the year. So I'm making this in 2025, and then I'm going to set the responsive behavior to hug. Okay. And actually, just as an example, because I'm going to add a little bit of Velo code, I'm going to set this to 2024, which is last year. Okay. And I'm going to add a little bit of code so that automatically updates to the current year. And it's going to be easier to visualize that when it actually changes to 2025, since it is 2025. So I'm going to leave this as 2024. But then what I'm going to do is copy this text here. I'm going to move it right here. And I'm just going to add the copyright symbol, which if you're on Mac, it is Option G. And if it's on PC, I know there is a keyboard shortcut. I just can't remember it. And honestly, I typically just Google copyright symbol and then copy and paste it because I can never remember what it is on PC. But then I'm going to copy and paste this text one more time. I'm going to put it right here. And then the name of this company is Coco Lonnie. So I'm going to say Coco Lonnie, add the straight line and then say all rights reserved. Okay, so now we have these three text elements here, and what I'm gonna do is grab all three of these. I'm gonna stack these together, and over here under item spacing, I typically set this to like 4 pixels. Okay, and I think that looks pretty good. And also I'll grab each of these text elements. I'll also make sure to turn off scaling text because we want these to basically be a fixed size. We don't want them to get bigger or smaller really. Great. But now that we have this stack, I'm gonna align this one to the left and center, just like that. Great. Over here on the right hand side, this is where we're gonna stick our menu. So honestly, all I'm gonna do is come over here to our header, and we have this great horizontal menu here. I'm just gonna copy it. I'm gonna come all the way down here, and I'm just going to paste it in the footer. Great. Now I will say for this one, we are gonna need to change the fonts to a white or at least a lighter color. So I'm gonna come over here to the design of it, press menu, items, and under text, we're gonna set the color to white. And we're also just gonna go ahead and match the size of it to this text here, which we have set this text size to 13 pixels. So under the settings here for this menu, again, we have to go to menu items, text. We're gonna go ahead and set this to be 13 pixels, okay? And then we can go through the different states and just simply make sure that our font colors are staying as white. Okay, perfect. And then I'm gonna go ahead and send this to the left, center, and then if we want to, we can go ahead and stretch it. Now, we are gonna have to change one thing with this. If we go under layout here, let's go ahead and align things to the left, or to the right, sorry. And I think that looks a little bit nicer. But you can also see that the menu items here are not our policy pages. So what we're gonna do is with the menu selected, press manage menu. And under this menu drop down, I've already created this, but you can manage site menus, you can add a new menu, and I like to call it footer policies. And then when that menu is selected, what I'll typically do is add items, main pages, and I'll add all of my different policy pages here and press apply. And as you can see, that was really easy. The last thing I will do is go ahead and grab the main container, and we're gonna select this third row here, and we're gonna set this to minimum content. And then we'll grab this top row for now and set this to auto. And that's basically gonna push everything down and allow this row to take up all of the available space that we currently have. So as you can see, the bottom of this footer is looking really, really clean. For this top row, what we're gonna do is we're gonna have the logo, and we're gonna have maybe 4 columns of different menu items here. So what we're gonna do is simply come over to add. We're gonna add a container. Let's stretch it. And of course, under layout, we'll press apply. And unfortunately, we do not have an option for 4 rows. So what we're gonna do is go to other. And under columns, we're gonna press 4 and press apply. Just like that. And just like with every other grid that we've been creating, let's add a 24 pixel gap in between them. And last but not least, let's go ahead and remove the opacity from the color of the container. Great. So now this is what we should have here. Now what I will say is I want to first start by adding our logo. So I'm going to grab our logo from up here, move all the way back down to the footer, and I'm going to paste it in. Great. And then I'm going to change the color of this to look like that. Awesome. And then I'm going to send this to the top left. Underneath the logo, I'm just going to add a simple little paragraph. And this could just be a little bit about the company. Doesn't have to be 3 lines or anything like that. But as you can see from the template, I haven't filled in much content quite yet. So we're just going to leave this as is for now. And I'm just going to set the width to be 100% just so. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and press Alt-I. And what that's going to do is it's going to enable the advanced settings for sizing. And I'm just going to set this to be 100%. You can see it was 99.3, but I just like to be really precise. And then underneath that, you can sometimes throw in like a social bar. So what I'm going to do is go to embed and social, scroll down to these social bars, and I'm just going to add this. Now, obviously, black on a dark brown isn't going to look very good. So what I would typically do is just go in here and delete all of the black icons here, go to add icons, and we'll just go ahead and add, let's say, Facebook. We'll look for a white variation of the icon. Great. Let's add another icon, say Instagram. Oops, didn't spell Insta right. And we'll find a white version of the icons. And then what else would like a fashion e-commerce store have? What kind of socials? They might have X or Twitter. We'll say X. And maybe a TikTok. Maybe a TikTok. So we'll go ahead and add that as well. And we'll go ahead and press done. Great. For the sizing, I'll go ahead and lower this down a little bit. So we'll say like 28. 16 we'll lower down to like 13. And I think that looks pretty good. We'll go ahead and move this right underneath the logo and paragraph text. We'll grab all three of these elements and we'll stack them together. And typically with stacks, I like to have set the item spacing. So let's go ahead and set this to maybe be like 16 pixels. I think that looks pretty good. But now let's go ahead and start working on the menus over here. So the first thing I want to do is actually grab maybe like this heading element here, and I'm going to paste it in. Now, obviously this is going to be really big and we don't need this much text, but I'm going to change the text to say shop. We're going to switch this over to hug. We'll also switch this over maybe to like a heading 5, and we'll make sure that the text is our white color, and we'll add it over here and send it to the top left. For this, I think I want to do like a mobile menu or a vertical menu. And there's multiple ways to do this. You can come over here to menu, go to vertical menus and use these. However, on different breakpoints like mobile, for example, you might want to align the menu to the center, and for some reason across different breakpoints it doesn't work. So another alternative option, which you could also do with the privacy menu down here if you wanted to, but for today we won't do that. For now, what we're going to do is just add a text element like a paragraph, and I'm going to say shop, or we'll say men's. Okay, and then with this, we'll make sure it's white. For responsive behavior, we're going to set this to hug. We'll turn off scale text, so it's just 15 pixels. We'll also do that with the menu as well. Turn off scale text, okay? And then we will go ahead and move this right underneath shop, okay? Let's go ahead and duplicate this, and we'll move it under here. And maybe for this one, we'll actually say this one is woman's, then it's men's, because I will say a lot of the design for the homepage that I've been doing is mainly for a woman's fashion, so it would make more sense in this menu, in this case, for a woman to come first. We'll also do like accessories. Then I think I have a category for favorites. And actually, I'm sorry, I totally forgot to do this first. Before we even do that, what we actually need to do is with one of these, what we're going to do is go over to animation and effects, add a hover interaction. And for this, I typically like to just create a custom one, because sometimes choosing those presets, they have a set transition time and you can't edit those. So I just prefer creating my own. For example, if I go ahead and add an underline here, you can see the timing window here. And if I wanted to, I could set the timing to like 0.1, and then I can go over to the initial state and I can set this to 0.1 as well. And if I go ahead and press done, I could go ahead and preview this, and I think that looks pretty clean. But one thing you really don't need to do this, but it's just a habit that I like to do. But I like to grab the text, come over to this animation, and I like to rename the animation. So I like to say underline text on hover. So I like to like name my animations, although you don't always need to do that. It's just kind of like maybe a good habit to get in. But for now, we'll go ahead and move on, and we'll just duplicate it now, and we can change the text as much as we want. And then we can also go ahead and link this to, let's say, the category page, and this is going to be for women's. Perfect. And we'll go ahead and highlight this and remove the underline, because we're still going to have the underline on hover, and that's kind of what we want, but we don't want it to be underlined the whole time. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and fill out the rest of this menu with the different categories and even maybe a shop all option below. All right, so now that I've completed this, what I want to do is go ahead and grab each one of these elements here using the shift key on the keyboard, and I'm going to stack these together. And then once they are stacked, I'm going to come over to item spacing, and I'm going to set this to be maybe like, let's say 8 pixels. Okay, and I think that looks good. Then what I want to do is go ahead and right click or press the 3 dots. I want to place this stack in a container. With this container, I then want to come over to layout and grid, and I want to press apply, and I want to add 2 rows. Okay, with this 2 rows, I want to add like a 12 pixel gap in between, and I want to grab this stack here, and I want to make sure that this one is in the bottom row, just like that. And then for the shop, I just want to go ahead and drag this one up here into the top row. We'll go ahead and send it to the left and top. Then we'll grab the container and we'll go ahead and set both of these rows to be minimum content, just like that. And I think that looks good. So then with this container selected, we're going to align it to the left and align it to the top, just like that. So now we should have something just like this, and it's just like basically our own vertical menu here. And then if we ever needed to, like on tablet or mobile, we can simply just align all of the items to the center and make it look really clean very easily. But for now, we're just going to go ahead and undo. And what I want to do is grab this container here. I'm going to copy it, and over here in this middle row, I'm going to go ahead and paste it in. Perfect. And for this one, we're going to go ahead and align it to the left and top. And last but not least, we'll go ahead and do that for this third row, or I guess fourth column, my bad, over here. And honestly, what I want to do is just actually align this one to the right and top. And I'll go ahead and do that for these menus as well. So we'll make sure it's aligned to the right hand side. It'll look a little bit nicer in my opinion. But obviously what we want to do is change these different menus up. So this menu over here is probably gonna be more about like contacting or my account and my orders, you know, stuff like that. So I'm gonna call this one helpful links. Okay. And you can see that the text itself is going outside of this container here. So actually what I want to do with each of these menus, not just this one, is with the menu selected, I'm going to press Alt and I to create the advanced settings, or to turn on the advanced settings. And I'm going to set the width of this to max content, just like that. And let's go ahead and do that for these other menus really quick before I forget. And with these other two menus, since we haven't changed anything, you're not going to notice a difference. But you will notice a difference when we start editing these. Okay. For this one, let's say contact page. Let's see what other pages we got here. Maybe FAQ or help center. Help center. I didn't spell it right, so I'll fix it. Okay, what else do we have? We have a return form. Start a return, and I'll say purchase gift card. And for this last one, I'll go ahead and delete it. And also I forgot, I don't actually have a contact page in this template, so I'll go ahead and remove that as well. But I did forget that we are gonna have a few more options here. So let me go ahead and add these, like my account. And we'll go ahead and duplicate this one more time. Align to the left. We'll change this one to my orders. Okay. And we'll go ahead and select the stack, and we'll set this to 12 pixels to match the rest. Oops. Yes, it didn't. 8 pixels. Sorry. Said the wrong number. So we'll set this to 8. Great. For this menu here, what we're going to do is maybe we'll call this one company. And I have a bad problem of spelling things wrong, but that should do. This one can be all about sustainability. And then maybe we have a loyalty program. And then I don't really have other pages to add here, so I'm just gonna go ahead and delete these for now, okay? And the last thing we need to do is, once we are happy with all of our links and everything like that, the last thing we need to do here on desktop is to grab this one right here. We're gonna set this, we're gonna grab the main container, and then we're gonna grab the row, the top row, and we're gonna set this to minimum content. And then we can grab the actual footer itself, and we can set this to be 0 pixels. And just like that, this is going to be our footer. Now we can adjust the spacing here a little bit to make things a little bit more consistent. Alternatively, we could also add these to its own container. So let's actually do that really quickly. I'm actually going to undo the past two things that I did. And what I'm going to do is shrink this really quickly. And I'm going to add a quick container up here just so I can drag this up here for now. Okay. And what I want to do really quickly is just add a container here. Let's stretch it. Let's add a CSS grid, and we're just going to choose 2x1, the 24 pixel gap, just like before, and we'll remove the background color. Okay. In this left section here, we're just going to add this stack from above. Okay. Just like that. Let's say Alt I, and we'll add this as a minimum pixel value. Maybe we'll say like 200 pixels. We'll say 320. I think 320 will look good. Okay. And then with that knowledge, now that this has a minimum value, what I want to do is grab this column, and set this to minimum content. Okay. And then what we're going to do is go ahead and grab this container here, stick it here. And what we're going to do first is we're actually going to grab this first column and we'll delete it. Okay. And then what I want to do is just go ahead and stretch this to fill the page. But we're going to make sure it only fills the right column here. And we'll set this one to 1FR. As you can see, nothing's really changed, but the good thing that we can do with this, going this route, is we can actually add a little bit of like left margin. So we can say like 64 pixels and see what that does. And it kind of like squishes things together a little bit. And then we can even grab this container and just center it, see what that looks like. So I want to have like about equal spacing in between these. But let me see if I add 24 to the right, or 20, oops, okay. Let's see what 32 does, and and after adding the 32 pixels of margin to the left of this container here, honestly, I think that looks really, really good. So then this is where I would go ahead and grab the main container, set the top row to minimum, and then I would grab the footer and set this one to 0. Just like that. Hey everyone, I just wanted to pause the video really quickly and give you like an updated way to do this. While I was editing the video, I realized I kind of did it in a way that actually would have made things a little bit harder on myself. Sometimes when I'm recording, I don't always remember the best way to do things. But for this section, instead of converting these two to pixel values, what I'm going to do is just set these to minimum content. I'm going to do that for both the right two columns here, and then I just want to update the gaps to be like 64 pixels, and we'll make this a responsive one, so something like that. And we'll leave the third, or the first column technically, as auto, and we should have the same exact results, and it'll look a little bit nicer, and things will scale with equal amount of space in between the items, and then of course that just looks a little bit nicer. So sorry for complicating things, but this is the easiest way to do it, and I should have realized that while recording, but it just slipped my mind. But back to the video. Oh, and actually before I end the video, I wanted to show you guys how to add that little copyright updater at the bottom of your website. So I actually have already created a video about this. So if you actually head on over to wixfix.com and go to the learn page, you'll find one of the articles called Auto Copyright Year. And again, I'll probably have this linked in the description below. But what we're going to do is just copy this code right here. Then we're going to head back over to our website here, and we're going to go over to code and press start coding. Now we're not going to want to add this to the home page because this code will only run on the home page. What we actually want to do is come over here to master page.js, click that, and what that's going to do is it's going to apply the code to all of your pages. And since your footer is on all of your pages, you're going to want to make sure you put this code in the master page.js. So I'm just going to go ahead and select all and then kind of override it here. And what I want to do is just gonna go ahead and erase the parts of this that we don't need, because the way we built it, we don't need that extra fluff. We just need the year now. And as you can see, this part here is red, so it's copyright text is red. And that is because we did not name our year text right here. If I select this and open up our coding panel and look over here in the properties, you're gonna see that this is called text 39. Which we don't want that. We want it to say copyright text to match our code over here. So you'll notice as soon as I click off of it and come over here, it might take a second, but it should update and basically say we are good to go. The best way to check this is if you come over to preview, and after it kind of does its loading thing and minimize, if we come down here, you will now see it says 2025. And that's how you know it is working. But this is how you're going to create a really, really nice footer here inside of Wix Studio. Yes, you can change things up and add a contact form or have it look completely different for aesthetic reasons. But for 99% of all industries, I would say that this footer not only looks pretty clean, but also includes everything that you'll really need to lead your users down their own custom journey. But if you want to watch me build the tablet and mobile versions of this footer, then you can join the designer tier here on the YouTube channel or Patreon. Again, links are in the description. Or if you want to download the template asset of this, you have to join the pro tier or buy it on my website. Again, links are in the description below. But that's basically gonna wrap it up for today's video. If you all did enjoy, please consider giving this video a like and subscribing to the channel for more Wix Studio content coming out really, really soon. Thank you all again, and I will see you on the next one.